In life, we encounter people every day, all of whom have stories to share. We rarely take the time to ask people their personal stories, many of which will touch, move, and inspire us in some way. Matt has a passion for making authentic connections and learning about people from all walks of life. He has lived a life of giving back to the community and making a difference in people's lives. Are you ready to meet fascinating people and hear some inspiring stories? The Matt Hilton Show will introduce you to a world of possibilities you never knew existed. Sit back, be present, and enjoy. Here's your host, Matt Hilton.
Hey everyone, Matt Hilton, the host of the Matt Hilton Show. Today's guest is my best friend. He's a lover of Legos, and he is a Jiu Jitsu World Champion. You don't want to miss this show. Stay tuned for a word from our premier sponsor.
Inspired, experienced, customer-focused. Find a mortgage that fits your needs with Maria Leach at First United Bank Mortgage, specializing in construction and closing all types of loans, including jumbo, portfolio, conventional, FHA, and VA. A tenured team, outstanding service, competitive programs. Finance your dreams with Maria Leach at First United Bank Mortgage. mleach.firstunitedteam.com, 214-316-7915, mleach at firstunitedbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey everyone, it's Matt Hilton, and thank you for joining the show. Today I have one of my best friends. I'll say he is my best friend. Brandon Hern is here with me, and I met him about 7 years ago. We were both at the Collin County Association of Realtors for an event or a networking event or something like that. And I saw him sitting at a table. He had just started in the mortgage industry, and he was sitting at a table by himself, walked over and introduced myself, and the rest is history. So Brandon, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. You would be the one to walk over to me too.
Yeah.
You're probably wondering why we're still friends, because I lost in a fight to Matt this morning. No, yeah, right.
Give him a good right hook. Now, what did happen? So when people are watching and they zoom in on your cheek, like, what is that?
Yeah, so if you know what,
rash.
Yeah, no, it is not actually. So one of my good friends, John Bart, I do jiu-jitsu with him. If you don't know what jiu-jitsu is, Google it. It's awesome. Every morning, and this morning he felt like my face needed some gentle contouring, so he rubbed his knee gracefully across my face and rips off some skin.
That's from a knee?
That's from a knee, yeah.
Wow.
So
okay. So tell me a little bit about jiu-jitsu. You just mentioned that. So what got you involved in jiu-jitsu? And I hear you're some type of world champion or something? Like.
Okay, yes. So jiu-jitsu is awesome. I started doing it because my kids started doing it. My kids were looking for some sort of martial art to be active, to learn how to defend themselves, build confidence. There's an academy, Invincible Academy in Wiley, that's phenomenal. It's run by Scott Phillips, who's a black belt, and Charlie Busby, who's also a black belt. And they do a great job with the kids, not just jiu-jitsu, but leadership. So I started as well, because after about a week of watching the kids, I realized if I don't start learning this, they're gonna whoop my butt when I get older, right? So I started doing it. I love it. I do it every morning. We got about 20 guys that are outstanding, really good male peer group. A couple high school kids join us. We roll every morning, 5:30, 6:30, and get out all that aggression, learn some moves, have some fun, and it's awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
You've been doing it how long?
About 2.5, 3 years now.
Okay.
So last year that you mentioned, so I'll talk about last year. Me and a couple guys went to Las Vegas for the World Championships. I won the World Championship in blue belt division, heavyweight, old person category 2.
Old person.
Yeah, so 35 to 40. So it's called Masters too, but it's just for the old guys. So I'm not competing against any of the UFC guys that are under 30. They're way tougher than me. So I'll be going back this year, purple belt in September. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So reigning world champion.
Yeah, I guess we'll figure it out.
Awesome.
That'll be cool.
And if you didn't notice, he doesn't like to talk about himself much. So
no.
The fact that he's here with me doing this talk show, have you done one of these before?
No, this is the first time ever.
Yeah. So there's a lot of first with Brandon and I. So I was his first client in real estate. So tell me, or not in real estate, but in the mortgage business, and his loan officer. So what made you get into being a loan officer?
Well, that's a great question. So I lost my job. But apart from telling you my whole life here for a second, so I was at Capital One Bank in Irving, and they relocated their headquarters up to Wilmington, Delaware. And my wife and I, we didn't want to relocate up there, so I lost my job. I had just bought a house with a woman named Pam Bazell, who's one of the owners of Integrity Mortgage, and I called her up and I was like, "Hey, just lost my job. Just bought a house with you. How's that looking? Didn't know what to do. She said, come on in. So I went into the office and talked to her and her husband, Roger, at the time, and found a new home. That's how I got into it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good deal. So let's step back for a minute. I didn't ask you to tell us about you. So where'd you grow up? What brought you, because you're not from Texas, so
Yeah.
what brought you here?
Well, I'll kind of start. So I grew up in California. So I moved out of California in 5th grade. My father passed away. I lost my father when I was about 5. So my mother took my sister and I up to Washington, where her sisters lived. So we moved to a little place called Woodby Island, which is heaven on earth. It's gorgeous up there. Went to high school, met the love of my life, who is now my wife, Andrea. Met her there. After high school, went to college, went to Oregon State University as a D1 wrestler, wrestled at Oregon State for a year, joined the military, served 10 years in the military. I could talk about that for another 5 hours. And then after that, rekindled with Andrea, moved down to Texas, got married, and been here ever since. So it's been 12 years now.
12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she is a gem.
She's the best.
Yes, she is.
You know, it breaks my heart that, you know, when you find true love and you lose it, it is super painful, like unbelievably painful. And you realize how hard it is to find. And for better or for worse, we found each other when we were 16, 17. And I knew always that she was the perfect one for me. And she knew that was the perfect one for her. I joined the military, things didn't work out, and I lost her. We lost each other. We lost our relationship. And when I lost my career in the military, that ended very abruptly and unexpectedly, we found each other again and knew within 2 seconds of seeing each other. I remember she was standing in the doorway. I walked up to her house because I was helping her parents fix the road. Their road was underwater because there was some flooding. And as soon as I saw her, I was like, uh-oh. Yep, we're getting married. We're getting married. So a month later, moved to Texas, and that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So after you met up again, how long and before you proposed? If you knew you were going to marry her?
So I asked her to marry me in February at the Dallas Arboretum, which is one of our favorite places in DFW. So I knew I moved from Oregon. So we rekindled in December. I moved from Oregon in January, and I had already purchased the engagement ring in Portland. I'm very frugal, and they don't have sales tax, so I was not interested in paying the Texas sales tax, right? So I bought it there. So I knew before I even left Oregon that I was going to marry her.
Right. So you talked about going into the military. What inspired you to enlist?
Well, so I've gone through lots of kind of phases or seasons or periods of my life where I had a really tragic event, lost my father. Kind of that's how I would say it all started. That really changed the course of my life. And at the time, you know, when you lose someone that you love dearly, or there's a horrific event that happens, and I mean, everyone watches the news, there's horrific events every day. When those things happen, in the moment, it is just heart-wrenching and terrible. But when you look back on it, it really shaped the man that the husband, the father, the man I've become today. So I went to college with all kind of the hopes and dreams to be a Division I wrestler. And I got to college and realized, you know, I didn't really like college. I wasn't really interested in sitting in the classroom. I was very fortunate to have been awarded the ROTC scholarship at Oregon State. So that was all taken care of. And I just didn't click. I felt like something was missing. My father served as a Marine in Vietnam. So I always had that deep sense of like, you know, next one up, it's my turn.
Right.
It's my turn to fight for the freedom. So me and a couple buddies who were also at Oregon State together, we left the classroom one day and we joined the Oregon National Guard. And that's how it all got started. Finished my first year of college. Soon as spring term was over, we went to Fort Benning, Georgia for basic training. And the day after I returned, we got deployed for 18 months.
Deployed where?
Iraq. So just the tail end of the invasion, and we left after the first free election. So after they had their first free election, this was in 2005, they told us we're going home on April 1st. And I thought that was a big joke at the time. I thought I was going to be there for another 6 months, but no, we went home April Fool's Day of 2005.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So there is a magazine cover that I have seen on different things, and you are in your, I guess they call it your fatigues, right?
You can call
and
them
you had, I don't know what it's
called.
And you've got your gun and all. So where did that come from?
So
are the photographers out all the time? I mean,
yeah. So again, I kind of feel like, you lose something, you get something else. I was incredibly fortunate, sheer luck, when I joined the Oregon National Guard in Bravo Company, which is in Corvallis, Oregon, of the 2162 Infantry. They had a unique mix of ex-Rangers, Ranger Battalion guys, SF guys, and really, really, really talented NCOs, which are non-commissioned officers, kind of senior enlisted, kind of like senior soldiers. And I'm just a college kid. I don't know any different. So I joined this unit, and my very first team leader was a guy named Specialist McKinley. My first squad leader was Chris Bailey, and my first platoon sergeant was Sergeant Salerno. And those three individuals, Specialist McKinley moved on to a different squad, but we had another one, Specialist Herb. But that leadership really crafted that experience. And so when we deployed, we had a very unique job that we got to do. It was very incredibly violent, but fortunately I was surrounded by great leaders who trained us well. We lost a lot of really good brothers in arms. Eric was one of them. And I learned a lot during that time. It really gave me perspective and wisdom on the cost of freedom, the cost of war, what that looks like. And, you lose a little bit of your soul when you go do something like that. Gives you some good wisdom and perspective.
So you've mentioned about when you lose something, you gain something. So you just said something, and I'm really curious. If you lose a little bit of your soul, what did you gain?
So that actually took me a long time to work through. When you see something horrific, there are a lot of terrible things, shootings in schools, horrific, right? People that have to witness that have PTSD for life, right? Anytime soldiers go into war, whether they're in the front lines or in the back, it is a traumatic event. I mean, you're leaving your home to go to a foreign country, and the things you see is crazy. I think it's a whole new level. I don't believe that God made us to take human life. And as a result, when you do take human life, I believe there's a little piece of you that it never goes away. So that took me a long time to work through. But I think ultimately what I gained from that was I believe now I understand, I have perspective on what the value of life really is. And it's caused me to live, you hear the cliche, like live every day like it's your last day. But do you really have the depth of experience that would lead you to do that? Most people don't. You can say it, you can put a poster on the wall, but I can tell you every day when I wake up, I'm like, well, Eric didn't get this day. My dad didn't get this day. And I think it changes how you approach everything.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no, that's deep.
It is deep.
It almost made me cry.
Oh, don't do that. You'll make me cry.
Yeah, man.
So let's lighten
it up.
So you mentioned about going to college and just feeling like there was an emptiness. There was it just wasn't gelling with you. So I have a son, and he's going to be a senior this next year, and he's already talking about not going to college. Like it's just not. He didn't feel it's for him.
Yeah.
And I'm encouraging him, right, to look at trade school or do something that he enjoys doing. And so my question to you is, what would you tell anybody that's like parents that are, because let me back up a little bit. Our school system is so dead set on educating our kids to go to college.
Yeah.
Get the college education.
Yeah.
And there are some kids that is just not how they're designed, right? They're not for college isn't for them. So what would you tell those parents?
Well, so it's no coincidence that the education system is preaching more education, right? I mean, that's what it's designed to do. College is a wonderful time, right? It's very important. I learned a lot. That wasn't who I was. There's lots of different ways to get educated. And one could argue that the education I got on deployment was far more valuable to be a successful, loving, caring, contributing member of society than learning about international business, right? Like, I would agree. I want to go get a business degree. Is that more valuable sitting in a classroom for 4 years, or is grinding, knocking doors, selling pest control, mowing lawns, selling houses, is that more valuable?
Right.
What's a better way to learn how business is run? Is business run by books and numbers and spreadsheets, or is it run with relationships, hard work, consistency, right?
Passion.
Correct. So my personal belief on college is there are some technical things that you really just have to learn in the classroom. Like, I have a hard time believing that there's a better way to learn how to build a skyscraper than really, first you probably got to understand all the things that go into that, right? Same thing. I really want my brain surgeon to go through a lot of college, right? But there are some other things that maybe, I think of art, for example. I could go to college for 4 years to learn to be an art major, or I could go travel the world and find things that are just beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful cities, beautiful nature. And I can go paint them or color them. Like, what's a better education? So I think the key thing for a young child or a young adult, right, is to find what they love doing. And maybe you don't know. Maybe your son doesn't know. He's like, Dad, I can't think of one thing I love. Well, what do you like doing? For me, you can see how animated I'm. I was dying sitting in a 300-room classroom in a chair like this. I was dying. I didn't have the discipline, and I didn't have the desire to do it when I was 18.
Right.
And I totally understand that. So if you don't know what you want to study, but you know what you love, well, follow what you love doing. There's a million different ways to make money. There's a million different ways to make a positive impact in someone's life. If you don't know what you want to do and you don't want to join the military, join the Peace Corps. Go travel the world and help others. Join the AmeriCorps if you don't want to leave America. Right. You can help Americans right here. I mean, there's so many ways to get involved, to learn, to develop, that I don't think college is the answer for everyone.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
that.
no.
Yeah. Because I am a product of college,
yeah.
Right? But I went to college to be a doctor. 3.5 years in, one course changed the trajectory of my life, and now I'm a realtor.
I didn't know you were going to be a doctor.
Oh, yeah.
That is
Really?
so cool. I didn't know that. I'm
Yeah.
a terrible friend.
I was going to be a doctor.
Best friend, second best friend.
Whatever. But yeah, so, and I got an economics, ended up with economics degree, and then I'm a realtor and a business owner. And could I have done what I'm doing today without a college degree? Yes. Did I learn some stuff in college that made me a better person and more sociable? Because believe it or not, I'm an extroverted introvert. I talked to somebody about this the other day.
Yeah.
I would rather be, I can be out in, the life of the party, or, very sociable when I want to be, but I like my alone time.
Yeah.
Right. That's how I recharge. And I used to be an introvert. I used to be in high school someone who I didn't go out and party. I didn't do anything outside of studying when I was in high school. So college, being in a social fraternity and all that sort of stuff, got me to a point where it developed my personality. So you're right. The college experience can be about the book smarts for those things that require such.
Yep.
But it can also be to help mold somebody's personality, or help their personality come out and flourish.
Sounds like in your case, what you learned probably in the first 2 years, the value was not whatever the classroom taught you. It was learning how to navigate a social landscape with other adults.
Right.
I mean, that's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, for sure.
Learning how to successfully manage a relationship, establish boundaries, respect each other. That's not easy to do.
Yeah, it's not anything that can be taught.
No,
right. You have to experience it,
and you got to fail at it.
Yeah.
You got to get your boundaries pushed, or you got to be taken advantage of, or maybe you're hazed. Or I think of when I was younger, I was bullied a lot, and that taught me a lot. Right. It taught me, okay, well, I probably shouldn't do this. I probably shouldn't do this. Probably should act a little different here. Right. Maybe I better get a little stronger. Maybe I better learn some skills. Maybe I better get faster. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're successful in our respective businesses because of the relationships that we build, right? So let's move on to something else that you love.
Okay.
And that is Legos.
Yes. Oh, geez.
Tell us
You
about-
calling me a child here?
No. Well, grown child.
I am a grown child. I have a Lego room. I have $20,000 plus of Legos. I've been collecting them my whole life. I love them to death.
So what do you do with these? I mean, once you put something together, like, don't you just put it together and leave it put together? I mean, what do you do with them?
I play with them, man. That's the whole point of Legos.
Okay.
So I have kind of like you, an extroverted introvert.
Okay.
I like the design and discipline. So I'll buy a set, I'll build it, I'll follow the directions to a T, I'll play with it a little bit, and then I want to modify it. And I want to take it apart, and I want to change it, and I want to craft my own image and use my own imagination. Now, I used to think I was very good at it, but my oldest son, Ethan, is unbelievable. He can take something that was a truck and he'll combine it with something that was a boat, and he can make the coolest mech robots and spaceships. I mean, he's 15. My 15-year-old, my 9-year-old, we still play Legos almost every day. Hey, you guys want to watch a movie, play video games? No, let's play Legos. It's just a really cool, constructive way to use your imagination. And yes, you can make a lot of money buying and selling Legos as well. Legos appreciate about 30% a year on average.
What?
So my Lego hobby has funded itself.
Interesting.
Yeah. So ever since I was in high school, instead of buying one set, I'd buy two. I'd keep them long enough to sell one of them for double, and then I'd build the other one.
So we're asking a lot of questions about Legos here. I just want to learn a little bit.
Yeah.
So whenever you're getting ready to sell a set, I guess you keep everything together in its package, or, I mean, do you mix and mingle pieces? Like, how do you keep everything separate?
Well, so I sold one of my oldest sets last year during COVID. So during COVID, it was a great time to sell collectibles. Great time. So it was the original Star Destroyer, Lego Star Destroyer, and it was either $199 or $299. And it was this big. It was awesome. It was crazy cool. And I sold it used. So I'd built it 30, 40 times. Like on Thanksgiving, the whole family would come. We'd take it out. We'd build it. It would take us like 24 hours to build the thing. And then when we were done, I'd painstakingly take apart every piece, put them in Ziploc bags, seal it up. I kept it in very good condition. So I sold it used for $2,000 about 10 years later. If it was brand new, probably would have sold for $5,000, like if I'd never opened it. So now, depending upon the set, some of them I'll keep sealed, never open, and some of them I'll play with them.
Yeah.
I mean, it just really depends.
Wow. Is there a set that you have your eye on?
I tell you what, the Optimus Prime Lego set that's coming out June 1st, I never thought they would partner with Transformers and build Optimus Prime, and I'm so glad they did. That's going to be a cool set.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there like a line outside the store to get them, or I'm assuming that's a hot commodity.
Yeah, if you
So
are
how
not,
do you know you're going to get it?
yeah, if you are not a Lego VIP member, so Lego VIP members, everything's pre-released to them, so they can go online and buy it right away.
Okay.
So if you're not a Lego VIP member, it's gonna be really hard to get. I never thought you'd put me on the spot about Legos.
Well, you know, hey, I asked you before we started. Is there anything you didn't want to talk
Yeah,
about?
no,
So
I hear
there
you.
you go.
Yeah.
So as we're walking through your life, I'd like for you to maybe share with us one of your most favorite memories that you have, whether it's, on a vacation or, just last week or whatever that may be. What's one of your most favorite memories?
Well, the best party I've ever been to was my wedding.
Oh, that was your best party, huh?
Best party. So my wife and I, again, Woodby Island's very small. I know everyone here in North Texas is used to like 6-day schools and 1,000 people graduating classes. I want to say my high school graduating class was like 100 people. And now that same high school is like, I think it's like 5th through 12th grade. It's so small. It's 1A now. When I was there, it was 2A. So the island's a very small place. And we wanted to keep it very small and intimate. So we were very particular. We each only invited 5 people, the 5 closest people. Now, apart from the wedding party, so we had our wedding party, but then the guests, 5 people and their spouses or significant others. So it was very intimate. It was a lot of fun. We did it over Labor Day weekend. So we had pizza night Friday night. We had the wedding ceremony on Saturday. It was really very intimate and it was awesome. A lot of people say they had a wedding and they didn't even talk to half the people. Like, I got to talk to every single person at the wedding, and they got to share with me the experience they had with my wife and I, and it was really cool. It was a lot of fun. And then Sunday we had a big cookout, and we invited, the other 100 people we didn't get to invite. So it was awesome.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite days ever.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what is something that you've done that if you could go back, you would never do it again?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No. I've done a lot of bad things. There was an NCO, and I can't for the life of me remember his name, but he used to say, even good men do bad things. And I wish I could remember his name and give him credit. But I say that because I've made a ton of mistakes. But if I wouldn't have made those mistakes, if I didn't do X, I'm not going to air all my dirty laundry right now. But if I didn't make that mistake, then I remember the first time I stole something. I think I was like 3.5 or 4 years old. I stole a little thing, like 2-ounce thing of cayenne pepper. And my dad made me eat the entire thing.
Oh, no.
I will never forget that. Mm-hmm. So if I were to go back and say, I wish I never would have stolen anything, I would never have had that lesson and that perspective of what it's like to steal. And now I understand. Now I'm a full-grown adult and understand, hey, when I take something from someone else, like I'm violating their rights. I understand it differently. But as a kid, right. So I can't think of one thing I would take back. Okay. Yes, did it hurt that the love of my life and I broke up and I didn't get to be with her for 10 years? Yeah, that hurts. Mm-hmm. But now in our relationship today, like, we understand how valuable that love is. There's nothing that could break us apart. We have a bad day. You have a bad day, you're arguing with your spouse. Like, we very rarely argue because we'll be angry with each other and just be like, oh, I love you so much. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know the loss already. You know the pain of it. You don't want to go back to that.
Yeah.
So I can't think of anything. Can you think of something that I've done that I probably shouldn't have done, Matt?
Yeah. Who's the host of the show?
Yeah.
What? Exactly. No. So you've talked about losing when you lose something, you gain something.
Yep.
So you've mentioned a couple of times where you've experienced that, the love of your life. Yep. You lost some of your soul when you were overseas. Like, what are some of the other points in your life where you've lost something, but once you look back on it, you see how you've gained?
Well, one of the hardest things. So after I joined the military, I'm very disciplined on my goals. I always have been. And my goal, my dream was to be a general in the military. I wanted to be an infantry officer. I wanted to lead men in the combat. I wanted to do all that stuff, be a leader. And when I lost my military career, I was really lost. So you mentioned you like to be by yourself to recharge. I did the Pacific Crest Trail, the Oregon part by myself. I had a couple Army buddies for some of it. I did the Olympic National Park by myself. I was like a week, 2 weeks, and just was by myself. But what I gained by losing my military career was my wife, Ethan, Alex, my kids, the whole life I have now. Because had I not lost that career, I probably never would have reconnected with her.
Right.
I was so career focused because I couldn't be with the woman I wanted to be with. I'm like, okay, if I can't be with the woman I want to be with, I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. So that's one. I would say that.
Can we pause for just a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I know the question's occurring to me, so I know it's occurring to the people who are watching and listening. How'd you lose your career?
So, coming back from Iraq, I had a phenomenal student counselor. And I'm telling you this is because Carol Leader was her name. She was at Oregon State University. And Oregon State University was unbelievably welcoming. So there was a ton of soldiers coming back. And Oregon, I think, is known for being maybe liberal. But Oregon State University welcomed us back, wanted us back. So I'm still in Iraq. Like, I wake up in the morning, I jump on a helicopter, I go shoot bad people, and I go back to my room and I have an email from Carol Leader. She's emailing me, registering me for classes. So when I hit the ground April 1st, I'm already back in college. She reached out to all the professors because I think I missed 1 or 2 weeks. She was unbelievable. And I owe a lot of my success in college to Carol. Anyway, so this is why it's important. So I'm going to graduate business school. I got a double major in Spanish and international business, and I'm about ready to head out and go to Delta selection. It's kind of like SF, but a little different.
Okay. SF meaning?
Special Forces in the military. Sorry. Sorry about that.
I knew what it was.
Yeah. And so I go into Carol's office. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. She goes, well, before you do that, you're still pretty young. You should consider going to get your graduate degree. Go get a master's. At that point, I enjoyed college a little more. So for those of you who haven't been to college, the first 2 years typically are kind of a grind. And then as you progress into the years, you get to like do more of what you want to do. I actually really enjoyed the last year of college. I love master's program. So I said, okay. So I went to University of Oregon, which is a little different than Corvallis. Got my master's degree and did ROTC there. Graduated. Of all the 4,000 officers in the country, graduated top 10. Went to infantry officer basic school. Graduated #1 infantry officer, honor graduate. And at the time I owed 8 years to the Oregon National Guard. So I'm getting ready. I go to graduation and our speaker was the commander of the 75th Ranger Battalion. And he said, well, what do you want to do, Lieutenant Hern? I said, I want to go command a Ranger platoon in Vicenza, Italy. And he said, all right, let's do it. So in order for me to go active duty, the Oregon Guard has to release me. And so there's some paperwork. It was way too complicated for me. But when the Oregon Guard released me, they completely chaptered me out. So what does that mean? That means I have to go back through MEPS. I have to break in service. I have all these things. So there was a major, and I wish I remembered his name too, at the Infantry Processing Center. I called him up and I said, hey, this is, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm ready to go. He's like, well, Lieutenant Hern, I mean, you're out of the military. You got to go back in. And I'm like, okay. He goes, well, just go down to MEPS. I'm like, well, I shattered my ankle in combat. I've had my shoulder repaired and I had been blown up. I had all these physical issues. And if you've ever been through MEPS, I mean, if you had a sprained knee in high school, you could be in trouble. You're not going to make it through MEPS. So that's when I went on the Pacific Crest Trail, and that's when I did the Olympic, and I tried to really find myself, and I struggled with it because that was my identity for a decade, 10 years, or just shy of 10 years. And then I found Andrea. I found my wife again.
Wow.
So it was totally unabrupted. I mean, I tell guys and gals who've been in the military, like, no way. But my whole military career, so Pete Salerno, a platoon sergeant, still a wonderful friend of ours. He actually married my wife and I. So we're very close to him and his wife, Trudy. Both retired. She's retired lieutenant colonel, I think, and he's retired master sergeant. And they have a little vineyard in Oregon, so we visit them a lot. And he would always be like, when we came back from Iraq, he'd be like, you will never have an experience like this again. You have no idea. Because he was in the military for a long time before he went. I mean, he had been in, I think, 10, 15 years at that point. He'd been in a long, long time. He's like, you will never have the same experience. And when I tell people, I'm like, the things that we did in combat, you typically don't get to do. And then how that happened to me and how I got kicked out was crazy. And I look back now and I'm like, I'm actually kind of grateful it happened. Because I would never have these 2 kids. I wouldn't have a wife.
But at the time, what were you?
It was brutal.
What was your mind?
Man, I thought I lost it all, right?
Right.
I mean, you think about it. You're training for something for 10 years. Like everything, every ounce of my energy, I'm out every day at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm running, I'm working out. I mean, I was running 32-minute 5-mile. I mean, that's fast. And I'm a big dude. I'm 210. And I mean, I was in the best shape of my life. I was academically really ahead of the curve. And that's what I wanted to do. I was a hard charging, wanted to jump out of planes. And that's what I wanted to do. So it crushed me for a long time. It was very hard to deal with.
Right.
But looking back now, I mean, it's probably one of the best things that ever happened.
But at the time, you don't realize it.
At the time, you don't realize it.
No. We did something together, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we had an experience of doing a Go Ruck. And it was Go Ruck JFK.
It was the JFK Memorial.
Yeah, there we go. And it was around this time. No. It was in November.
It was in the fall.
Yeah.
And it was freezing.
It was freezing. Yeah. So how did you hear it? Because you invited me to do the Go Ruck with you. So tell me about your Go Rucks, your Spartan races, your whatever that you do now too.
Yeah. So when you were in the military as long as I was and you had a job that I had, you pretty much get addicted to adrenaline. And you just have a lot of energy. I mean, you can see you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of adrenaline, you have a lot of, you got a lot to get out.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for something to do. And at the time, my sister-in-law, Katie, was like, oh, you should do this Go Ruck event with us. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So my wife and I sign up, and then Katie bails because she has other plans.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife and I do this Go Ruck event, and we finish it, and we sat in the car and we could barely move. I mean, it just smoked me. I mean, you know the feeling.
I know. Yeah.
But it was a really, really cool event. So for those of you not familiar with Go Ruck, they take Special Forces cadre, which are Special Forces leaders. They pair them with civilians, and they do kind of like a civilian teamwork boot camp where, I mean, it kind of sucks, but I mean, their goal is not to hurt you or break you. Their goals, they tell you stories. I mean, the JFK one was so cool.
Try to break you.
Okay, they do try to break you, but they're but it's not like a basic training where you know what I'm talking about.
I know.
And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's completely miserable, but really the whole time is miserable. But it's a wonderful exercise because it gives you perspective on, because when you do a Go Ruck, you lose your freedom, you lose your comfort, you lose your sleep.
You're carrying extra weight.
You're carrying tons of weight. There comes a point in the night where people break down. It's 2:00 in the morning. Every person's got an 80-pound sandbag on top of their 30-pound backpack, and it just sucks. So some people lose their mind, and then the sun comes up, and you get a little sugar in you, and people start to come back to normalcy. And but it's a great exercise. Physically, is it challenging? Yeah, but you don't have to be in great shape. I mean, you don't have to be in great
I
shape.
wasn't in great shape.
You just gotta make it through.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. If you haven't done it, I highly recommend doing one.
And I recommend, if you're going to do it too, have someone like a Brandon there with you who encourages you along the way, because I would have given up along the way if you weren't there. So it does help when you have somebody there to encourage you.
Kudos to you, because I had been training for it for a long time, and I was in great shape for it. And I'm not quite sure you had been training for it as long as I had.
No, and my knees told
And
me
you,
so.
and you crushed it. And you crushed it.
I don't know about crushing it.
You made it.
I felt like I was crushed. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
It was fun.
So I've done a couple of those. I had neck surgery maybe 3 years ago now, so I can't do the weights on my neck. So I thought to myself, I can't do Go Rucks. I might as well, if I can't put weight on my neck because of my neck surgery, I might as well do jiu-jitsu, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, right? So that's what I do now. It's they call it the gentle art. So
Okay. So there's no sudden movements with your neck. That
no,
could
maybe on the
hurt
face
it.
every now and then.
Mhm,
Yeah. No.
That's what I was about to say. A knee to the cheek.
Yeah.
Okay. You know about my nonprofit,
Yes, I do.
Who Do You Know? And so I want to ask you a couple of questions about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's gonna put me on the spot.
Here we go. Yeah.
Okay.
So we focus on inspiring imagination
Mhm.
and bringing joyfulness into people's lives
Okay.
through bringing their dreams and wishes to life.
Mhm.
And we focus on 3 pillars.
Okay.
That is meeting a person, having an experience,
Mhm.
or going to a place.
Okay.
So I want to ask you those 3 questions and I want you to be like totally open and transparent here, Brandon. I know
Meeting a
that's little hard
person,
for you.
going to
Yeah.
a place, and having an experience.
So yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what person, living person,
Living
would
person.
you want to meet?
Well, my childhood hero, probably Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
I've always wanted to meet him. He seems such a fascinating. His life story is fascinating to me.
Mhm.
I'm also deeply fascinated by Jordan Peterson and Elon Musk.
Mhm.
Those two people, the way their brains think is
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So experience.
Experience. I've always wanted to sail around the world.
Have you been sailing before?
No.
No.
In fact, my bucket list is to get my captain's license so I can sail and do that. I have not done that yet. I've been putting it off.
Why have you been putting it off?
Well, when you got 3 kids and you got select baseball every weekend, you got track and field at night, and our 3rd kid, we have an exchange student from Mexico right now. So
This is the second year you've done it?
this is the second time we've done it. 2 years ago, we had her older brother, Diego, who's awesome. So now we have Vanessa right now. We take Vanessa back to Mexico, I think in like 2 weeks. And then in a couple of years, the youngest sister, Veronica, will come. So
Very cool.
it'll be awesome. Place, I'm going to tell you right now,
Yeah.
I'd like to go to Mars.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't make that happen. So,
What do you mean?
I mean, if you can get me to Mars, I tell you what, I would really just love to go to space.
Okay. To go to space and to go to Mars are two different things.
I know. I mean, no human's been to Mars yet, so I get it. That's maybe a little outside of my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people that turn down the invitations from Jeff and Elon to go into space. I'll take those seats.
Yeah.
Shoot me up. Let's go. I want to check it out.
All right. So you heard what he wants to do and who he wants to meet and where he wants to go. So let's see if we can make any of this happen. So wrapping up here, a couple of ending questions for you.
Oh,
Yeah. As looking back to your younger self,
okay.
what would you tell your younger self? What you know today, what would you tell younger Brandon?
Just keep doing more. I feel like there are periods of my life where, parents out there with boys love video games. I don't know why, but if I could tell my younger self, hey, go do more, maybe a little less Halo, a little less GoldenEye N64, and go do more of something else, maybe. But even then, some of the friends I met, it's hard for me to go back and change that, but probably go do more. Maybe give my younger self some stock tips so I wouldn't be working anymore today.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Hey, so there's going to be a company called Amazon. Throw some money at that.
There's this cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know Bitcoin's only 10 cents per. Just buy all of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll retire early.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I would say do more. Go outside. I went outside a lot when on the island. It was beautiful. But I see my kids today, and I'm so grateful for them. And my wife and all of our friend group, they do such a good job. Our kids are outside all the time. We go to restaurants to eat, and all too often you see just people buried in this thing that's not even real instead of interacting. And our kids don't do that, which is awesome.
Right.
And my 9-year-old has actually no interest in it, which is really great. My 15-year-old, of course, he's got a girlfriend, so he's got to communicate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be it.
Okay. And when you say do more, so one of the things that fascinates me about you too, besides a lot of the stuff we've talked about today, is how much you do.
Mm-hmm. Do. Yeah.
Yes. So, you're involved in several ventures and oil and gas company. Like you have done a lot. So do you feel like, and I don't know if this is a good assessment or what, do you feel like you're doing more now to make up for what you didn't do as a younger child?
Well, I said this earlier. So here's a really good example. So I wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest. I don't want to wake up at 5 o'clock. I don't know very many people that are like, yeah, I get to wake up at 5. Like, that's not something I get excited. But I wake up at 5 because if I don't, then I lose time. And so time is the most valuable. I believe time is the most valuable thing that I have. So I go spend time doing something I love. And then I come home and my wife and I spend 30 minutes together on the couch drinking coffee. And we do things together. We do devotionals. We're working on our core values right now. So we do stuff like that. Well, then I start working. But when the day's done, I don't take my foot off the gas. So when the work day's done, right? Mm-hmm. Now it's time to play football with my son. Time to cook dinner because I love cooking dinner. Time to we play a ton of Sequence. We play a ton of Phase 10. Mm-hmm. Last night we played Dungeons and Dragons for the first time with my kids. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Yes, I am a nerd. And but you don't take the foot off the gas. Kids go to bed. We don't take the foot off the gas. We don't go lay in bed and watch TV. In fact, we don't even have a TV in our room. We only have one in our house. Our foot's on the gas. It's not, some people are like, oh, I need to decompress by watching a show. Well, it's actually not decompressing. It's stimulating you more. It's doing the exact opposite. So I'll decompress with my wife on the patio with a glass of wine, or maybe just peppermint tea, and we just watch the sunset, or we talk and we We keep our relationship alive.
Right.
Maybe we go for a walk, whatever. Yes, we do watch movies on Friday night, right? We're not robots, but what I mean by do more is fill your day. So when my head hits the pillow, I'm gonna sleep in 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Because every ounce of what I have is gone. I've given everything I got today. So then I get to recharge when I sleep, and then it's right back at it.
Yeah.
And there are times, I mean, let's be honest, while you're sick or you're tired, or maybe you just had a really long day, or something terrible happened at work, or something terrible happened in the world that triggered something in your heart, and you're just like really hurting, where maybe you need more rest, right? Or maybe you need to go spend time by yourself. Go meditate, read a book, go walk, whatever it may be. But the consistency of let's keep going, even on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
When we're on vacation, we try to fill our time with, we're going to go scuba diving, and then we're going to lay by the beach and relax. And then we're going to, it's not just haphazard, it's very intentional. We want to spend time together and balance activities and relaxing. We want to relax together, all these types of things. So,
what's next on the horizon for you?
For what?
Business, personal, whatever. You told us about the next Jiu-Jitsu championship coming up.
Yeah, so selfishly, I start training really hard for Jiu-Jitsu about 90 days out. So my wife and I are going to Vegas for our anniversary, and that's the World Championship. So we start training really hard next week. So I'm very excited about that. Mm-hmm. My kids, we have a lot. My littlest, my Alec, my 9-year-old, we got the Little League World Series, which is a ton of fun. My oldest has Air Force Academy track camp, so we're going to Colorado. We're going to Mexico for a week to take my exchange student daughter back to Mexico. We're going to go explore some ruins and stuff. July, we're going to do Deschutes River in Oregon float trip. It's one of my best friends from high school is getting married, so it's his bachelor party. We're going fly fishing, some good steelhead. August, he's getting married. I mean, business-wise, I talked about this is actually very important. I'm glad I got back to this. So when I lost a piece of my soul, I lost my relationship with Jesus Christ, which is really hard. For a lot of veterans who go to war, it's hard to understand. Like, you hear people like, why would God allow for all this pain and suffering? War is horrible. It's miserable. It's like the worst. It's like hell on earth is what it is. Right? You see photos from Ukraine right now, and you're like, how is that even real? Like, it's terrible. And so I didn't understand. And I ended that relationship. And I know it never really ends, right? Like, I get it, but I ended it. I closed that part of my heart off. Mm-hmm. It was gone. And so I think the very best thing about finding Integrity Mortgage, or Integrity Mortgage finding me, was Pam's husband, Roger. Really, I mean, I swear he was secretly conspiring to break my heart apart and bring me back to my relationship with Jesus. And he was successful, and that changed. I mean, you talk about business, that changed my life with my wife, with my kids, with my friends, changed my business. Yeah. I mean, I do believe 100% that when you relax, let go, and you just trust in God and your relationship with Jesus, I mean, good things will happen to you. Yeah. And so that changed my business. Business is awesome. I couldn't be at a better company. Integrity Mortgage, like a lot of mortgage companies right now, you hear all Better.com laying everyone off, Quicken laying everyone off, PennyMac just laid off a ton of people. I mean, all these mortgage companies are dying. And we've had record months every month this year. So I think the reason is we have the right people on the bus. And you've heard that leadership adage, right? Get the right people on the bus, and you can go anywhere. Mm-hmm. We got the right people on the bus, from our processors to our underwriters to our owners. Our owners are amazing people, to our appraisers, to our realtors we work with. I mean, to our clients. I mean, I'm so blessed to have clients that I actually want to hang out with. They're awesome. They're awesome people, and it's just a lot of fun. Yeah. So it's all good. Life is good. I'm just waiting for the next failure, right? Like, I know I'm going to fail again. When's it going to be? Yeah. It's coming. Who knows?
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It was great.
I love it.
Is this what you expected? Was it good?
You know what?
Will you do it again?
I'll do it again.
All All right, man.
Yeah, I appreciate
for
it,
being
Matt.
here.
Thank you.
Y'all, thanks for tuning in. And tune in next week. We'll have another fascinating person with an inspiring story. Have a good one.
The Matt Hilton Show would like to thank our sponsors, Hilton Realty Advisors and Maria Leach with the First United Mortgage Group. The Matt Hilton Show would also like to thank our partners, the Who Do You Know organization. You can find out more at wdyk.org. If you'd like to contact Matt or know a fascinating person with an inspiring story that would make a great guest, reach out to the show at themattHiltonshow@gmail.com.